In Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z's story mode, you unlock a diary entry in which the author talks about how he's happy that he got to drop his dick and get into some action. He's glad for the opportunity to get a blood boner, as he called it. Perhaps Ninja Gaiden Z's excruciating writing could have been at least somewhat overshadowed by great action. Sadly, even Ninja Gaiden Z's striking art style and obscene attitude aren't enough to cause blood boners. Not in a game this clumsy and poorly structured. Cyber Ninja Yaiba is clearly not meant to be liked as he pursues his revenge quest versus Ninja Gaiden megastar Ryu Hayabusa. Then again, no one comes across as particularly interesting or charismatic, not even your guide Miss Monday, whose primary character traits are her monumental breasts. At least the action provides some initial compensation for the game's disastrous attempts to be funny. You wade through cartoon zombie hordes using your sword, your flail, your metal fist, and every so often weapons that fallen enemies drop. When encounters are kept simple, the action is shallow but satisfying in that Dynasty Warriors kind of way, in which you press buttons and blood splatters all over your television screen. My favorite standard weapon is the flail. Its long reach makes it useful for ripping through a large number of lurching zombies at once. Its ability to create havoc is commendable, allowing you to make numerous foes simultaneously vulnerable to a gory execution. Such executions can be chained together in quick succession, with you pulling a shoulder button when one execution pauses to move on to another. Not only is there some innate glee in seeing zombie heads fly into the air and undead bodies split in half at the torso, but performing executions rewards you with cubes that replenish your health meter. Sadly, the shallow fun is quickly dropped in favor of frustration. The fixed camera is a frequent problem, sometimes forcing you to fight off unseeable enemies without giving you a proper view of your surroundings, and other times swooping around when you cross a threshold in the midst of combat. The camera angles are even less helpful during the repeated boss battles in which a large robotic walker looms in the foreground and you're dashing around behind it, hidden from view. As if to mimic Ninja Gaiden's famously high level of difficulty, Ninja Gaiden Z fills the screen with hulks that fling fire, jilted brides that sizzle with electricity, and mutants that puke bile in your direction. But where games like Ninja Gaiden Black gift you with precise combat systems that reward skillful play, Ninja Gaiden Z takes the cheapest approach to difficulty imaginable, throwing so many of these enemies into the arena that skill is barely relevant. Sparking enemies teleport to your side and slap you around while you're dashing around to snuff out the flames engulfing you. Killer clowns knock you into submission when you're rushing away from suicidal grenadiers. Blocking and countering certain attacks is possible, but rarely a viable tactic given how randomly this mess plays out on screen. There's just no rhythm to the combat. Ninja Gaiden Z's so-called chemistry set exacerbates the frustration. When certain elements come in contact with each other, like the biological spew of a blister sister and the flames of a holy roaster, they cause interactions. The chemistry set is perfectly fine when you use it to solve the game's mild puzzles, but the storms that suddenly ignite on the battlefield when fire and lightning meet are more hazardous than the threats they alleviate. As a result, death is a frustration and not a teaching tool, and your primary method of healing, that is, collecting those post-execution health drops, is unreliable. The prompts to execute enemies might appear in the middle of one sword swing and vanish just as quickly when the second half of your combo rips the vulnerable enemy to shreds. So much for that blood boner then. Not that you'd be able to keep it up during the game's first major showdown, which drops to single-digit frame rates in the heat of battle. Still, Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z keeps pumping out the blood, hoping to turn you on with its gory combat and vulgar attitude. Every so often, the game would get me excited, particularly during its high-flying parkour sequences that had me stringing gymnastic moves like I was a cyber Olympian. The rest of the time, I could only shake my head at all the wasted possibilities.
Aren't you a miserable piece of shit? Get the fuck off of me!